If you live in the Tampa Bay area, or if you've ever driven down 275 heading towards St. Petersburg, then you're going to know all about this iconic structure. It's one of the most photographed landmarks in Florida, but behind its beauty lies a dramatic and sometimes tragic history. Today, I want to take you on a journey through the story of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, from its humble beginnings to disaster to the engineering marvel we drive across today. Hi, my name's Alyssa, and I'm a local resident and realtor to Tampa, and I absolutely love sharing with you about the city and all the amazing things it has to offer for both those of you who already live here and those of you still trying to decide whether or not Tampa is your next move. If you found this video fun and helpful, be sure to hit the bell so you get notified when I post new videos. If you are thinking about making a move to Tampa, click the link below to download my relocation guide or set up a time for us to talk one-on-one. The story of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge starts back in the 1950s. Tampa Bay, as gorgeous as it is, has always been a barrier for transportation. If you wanted to get from St. Pete to Bradenton or Sarasota back then, you were in for a long drive around the bay. That is until the Florida State Road Department decided it was time to change that. In 1954, the original Sunshine Skyway Bridge opened to traffic, but it wasn't the soaring cable-stayed structure we see today. Instead, it was a steel cantilever bridge, low and utilitarian, stretching about 15 miles across the water when you count all the approaches and the causeways. For locals, it was a game changer. Suddenly, what used to be a several-hour drive was cut down to a fraction of the time. It was progress, it was modern, and it was a sign that Tampa Bay was growing. By 1971, traffic demands had already outgrown the original span. Florida added a second parallel bridge, creating 2 lanes northbound and 2 lanes southbound. The twin spans of the old Skyway became a vital artery for both commuters and travelers heading down the Gulf Coast. But as convenient as it was, the bridge sat in a treacherous location. The shipping channel into Tampa Bay runs right beneath it, and enormous freighters had to pass through very narrow lanes between the bridge's support columns. For decades, it worked. That is, until the morning of May 9th, 1980. That's the day Tampa Bay history changed forever. A massive freighter called the Summit Venture was making its way into the bay in the middle of a sudden, blinding squall. And unfortunately, the pilot lost sight of the channel markers in the rain and the wind. At 7:33 a.m., the freighter slammed into one of the bridge's support columns, and within seconds, 1,200 feet of the southbound span collapsed into the water below. Sadly, cars and trucks that had been crossing had no chance. In total, 35 people lost their lives that morning, most of them plunging over 150 feet into the bay. There was only one person who survived the collapse, a man whose pickup truck fell with the bridge, but landed in a way that thankfully and miraculously kept him alive. His story is still told today whenever people talk about the tragedy of the old Skyway. Not surprisingly, the collapse shook Florida to its core. Suddenly, what had been a symbol of progress became a symbol of fragility. Investigations revealed just how vulnerable the old cantilever design was to ship strikes. For months, the region scrambled. The northbound span of the bridge was still intact, so traffic was rerouted, but people were terrified to drive across the bridge, and to be honest, I don't blame them. I would be too. It was a tense time, but out of tragedy came innovation. Florida officials decided the replacement bridge couldn't just be another patched-together span. It needed to be state-of-the-art and something that could stand as a symbol of both resilience and safety. Construction on the new Sunshine Skyway Bridge began in 1982, and it was unlike anything Florida had seen before. Engineers chose a cable-stayed design, one of the first of its kind in the United States. And instead of being supported by piers in vulnerable positions, the new design featured 2 massive towers with cables fanning out like rays of sun to hold the roadway aloft. When the bridge opened in 1987, it instantly became an icon. Stretching just over 4 miles across the bay with its main span rising 180 feet above the water, it allowed even the largest freighters to pass safely underneath it. The golden cables weren't just functional, they were symbolic, meant to evoke sunshine, optimism, and Florida's forward-looking spirit. And maybe most importantly, the new bridge was designed to withstand exactly the kind of accident that had doomed the original bridge. Giant concrete protective barriers called Dolphins surround the support piers, ensuring that if a ship does veer off course, it'll hit the barrier before it can ever touch the bridge. Today, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is more than just a way to get from point A to point B. It's part of Florida's identity. You'll see it on postcards, license plates, and even in art installations. Driving across it, especially at sunrise or sunset, is an experience. Water stretching endlessly on both sides, the skyline of St. Pete in the distance, and the cables glowing golden in the light. The old bridge wasn't completely erased though. Portions of the original spans were converted into fishing piers, and today the Skyway Fishing Pier State Park is the longest fishing pier in the world. Locals and tourists alike cast their lines where cars once drove, a fascinating reuse of history. In a way, the old and new skyways coexist, the fishing pier serving as a memorial to what came before, and the new bridge standing tall as a promise for the future. Of course, the Skyway hasn't been without its eerie moments since then. Some drivers still get nervous about crossing such a tall bridge, especially during storms. There are stories of people pulling over or even needing escorts to make it across. I am personally one of those people who used to be terrified to drive over the bridge. But over the years, I've gotten used to it, and in a surprising move for anyone who knows me, I faced my fears in the most unique way, by actually running a race over the Sunshine Skyway. Yes, I actually ran a 10K during the inaugural Skyway 10K race. It was surreal and a little nerve-wracking to be running on that bridge so high in the air, and I had to stay on the inside far away from the edge, and it was pretty wild. But going back to the history and tragic collapse, every so often, people bring up the ghost stories tied to the tragedy of 1980. Some fishermen swear they've seen shadows of that Greyhound bus in the water or felt unexplained chills late at night. Whether you believe in that or not, it adds to the mystique of the Skyway. But when you strip it all down, the Sunshine Skyway is about connection. It connects Pinellas and Manatee counties, it connects Tampa Bay to the Gulf Coast, and it connects the past to the present. It reminds us that engineering can fail, but it can also rise stronger than before. It's both a cautionary tale and a triumph.